So as our time together unfolds, I just want you to remember those lyrics right there, because that is what where we're going to go today. The idea of savoring the moment, savoring the gifts of this day, of this life, savor them, live from them, experience them fully. But before we get there, I always like to remind us of what our monthly theme is, in which today falls. And our monthly theme is really inspired by the church's 20th anniversary, which we're celebrating this whole month. We started the month with the first Saturday night of May, where we had an incredible gala experience of music and dance and food and fun, and it was quite glorious. And then we've decided to just take the theme into every Sunday of this idea of 20 years. 20 years this church has been expressing God's love and being God's light and living God's truth. But we're taking it more than just this church's experience over the last 20 years, but our own experience over the last 20 years. Where were we 20 years ago on our spiritual journey? As I look out here, we have some folks who were not even, they're just toddling around, it looks like, because some of you are pretty young out there. But others of us who are a little bit older, where were we on our journey 20 years ago? Maybe some had been on the spiritual journey for a long time by then. Maybe others were just starting to dip your toes into it, or hadn't really even started yet. So the thought is, where were you 20 years ago on your journey of awakening? And where are you today? And if Creative Living Fellowship has had any hand at all in supporting you in that journey, then that makes my heart sing. And I know that we are doing what we came here to do. So last week, we looked at the idea of letting the astonishing lights of our own being, to quote Sufi poet and mystic Hafiz, the astonishing light of our own being we explored last week about, and how we do that is to live in the present moment. To live in the present moment, to have present moment awareness. Today is kind of part B, or part 2 of last week, and we're talking today about being in the deepest acceptance of today. So what I thought I would do, since today really is kind of an extension, a continuation of last week, is that I would start today where we left off last week. And we left last week with a poem called I Am, written by that wonderful, prolific poet, Anonymous. You've heard of him, right? Or her, we're not sure, it could be a her too, don't know. But this beautiful poem is about living in the present moment, and it goes like this. I was regretting the past, fearing the future, then suddenly my Lord was speaking. My name is I Am. God paused, I waited, God continued. When you live in the past with its mistakes and regrets, it's hard. I am not there. My name is not I was. When you live in the future with all its problems and fears, it's hard. I am not there. My name is not I will be. But when you live in this moment, it is not hard. I am here because my name is I am. So today, as we explore the deepest acceptance of this day, of this moment, I want us to feel and deepen into the I am presence that is here, right now, right here. And when we do that, joy is expanded, and our ability to create the life that we desire to create is enhanced and is deeply empowered when we seize this moment, recognizing that the I am presence, which is just another term for God or spirit or life or whatever term or phrase you want to use for that presence of creativity that lives and moves and has its being as, in, and through all things, whatever term you want to use. But right now we'll call it the I am presence. When we tap into that I am presence, our joy is expanded and our ability to create the life that we desire is empowered. When we do that in the moment, in this moment, not tomorrow, not when we feel better, not when life shifts and changes and we're happier, right now in this moment. So that's what we're going to explore today. And I love sharing with you notes from the universe from Mike Dooley. I know many of you get those in your email. I get them. I'm on the mailing list, so I receive notes from the universe, and it's always just a little message to me from God or In this case, they call it the universe. And I know I shared one with you last week, and that one came with, because Mike Dooley referred to whatever your dream is, whether it's to learn this, to do this, that, or that, or to learn how to dance Gangnam, is that, yeah, Gangnam style. And I had to look that up because I had no idea what that was. No, that was last week. Okay, that's it. As I said in first service, a white 62-year-old woman should not do that. It's just not right. It's not. So I apologize. Yes, she should. Rock on. Yes, she should. Anyway, this quote from Mike Dooley has nothing to do with that. Thankfully, it has nothing to do with that. But this is the universe's message that came into my inbox very recently, and it is so perfect for our theme for today. It goes like this. So insert your name here. Of all the wonderful places you'll go, of all the happy times you'll have, of all the adventures that now call unto you, each will be enhanced and will more quickly come to pass with your absolute immersion in today's places, today's times, and today's adventures. Don't you just love having so much control? Tally-ho, the universe. And there it is right there. All the wonderful places that you want to go and will go. All those happy times that you will have. All those adventures, exciting, thrilling things that are calling you, they will all be enhanced. They'll be enlivened. They'll be even greater than you expected. And you'll bring them on quicker when you live fully in the place you are now, when you are completely happy with this moment, and when you are thoroughly embraced in and enjoying the adventures that are happening for you right now. Because that's simply how it works. So said another way, when we're living in the deepest acceptance of the day, right here, right now, that's when that joy and that's when that greater creativity occurs. So there's a beautiful scripture in the Psalms. It's at chapter 118, verse 24, and it felt very appropriate for us today. You may know this one. It is, "This is the day which the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." This is the day that the Lord has made, this very day, a special day made just for you. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Now that's a verse that I know. I've known that since my Baptist upbringing. I heard that. But I heard it slightly differently. And I was surprised, actually, when I looked this up to make sure that I had it right, and I had to find exactly where it was. I knew it was in Psalm somewhere, but I didn't know where. So I have a beautiful Bible concordance online, and I looked it up. And the words that I just read to you were different slightly from the ones I remembered. And then I went to my Bible, which is a Lamsa version, interpreted by translated, I should say, by George Lamsa. And I like that version the best because it's the clearest and cleanest and most direct interpretation from the original language. All the other versions of the Bible went from the originating language, which were several, by the way, in the Bible, to one, to another, and then to English. So there's a lot of interpretation in there. But the Lamsa version goes straight from the original to English. So I like that one the best. But in both, actually, King James and in the Lamsa version, it says, "Today is the day which the Lord has made. We will rejoice in it." That's not what I learned. What I learned, or remember anyway, was, today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. We will versus let us. And as I think about it, we will is way more powerful than let us. Let us, to me, says, well, come on, let's rejoice. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a try. If it's not too much effort, let's do that. If everything's lining up to your liking, well, then let's rejoice in this day. No, that's not what the scripture says. It says we will. That's a declarative statement. That's an affirmative statement. We will do that. And we could even make it more personal and say, I will do that. Or we could take it a step further, as I like to do. You know me, I like to edit. I edit everything. I'm not above editing the Bible because I just think, you know, could have been written a little bit differently, and I edit away. So, and I apologize to David, who probably was the author of the Psalms. He wrote most of them anyway. Not exactly sure which ones he wrote, but he wrote most of them. He and Solomon and some other folks. But anyway, my apologies to whoever the original author was. But I think it could say, to make it even more empowering, is today is the day the Lord has made, and I now, you got it, you guys are good, rejoice and am glad in it. I now rejoice and am glad in it. Yeah, that's powerful. That takes us to present moment acceptance, to acceptance of this day. Not just acceptance, beyond acceptance, celebration of this day, recognizing that it is an amazing day because God created it. And it could, of course, be no other way. But we forget that sometimes. So I'm really appreciative when you all send me things that apply and are appropriate and fit for what I want to talk about. And just this last week, Luann, thank you, Luann, sitting back there, sent me something from a daily message from Gia Wellness. And it's fit so beautifully and perfectly, and it's so poetic that I wanted to share this with you. It's called Possibilities Abound. And I've already talked to the Yayas that this would be great put to music. I really, really think it would be great put to music, so I'm encouraging you guys to do that. Yeah, you're welcome. It goes like this. Sunlight drops its golden paint on the quiet surface of a mountain stream, and a new day is born. What a shame it would be to let this day pass without putting fresh goodness into it. From rocky ledges to cool valleys, in the countryside and in cities across the globe, possibilities abound. Life is here to be lived, and now is the time to live it. Today is the day the Lord has made, and I now rejoice in it. Like water swiftly flowing, the opportunities of this day will soon be nothing more than memories. Now is your one and only chance to make those memories positive, to make them satisfying by making full use of today's opportunities. Now is your chance to make new value where none existed before. Now, when you are inspired to let go of the excuses and to cast off any thought of procrastination, is when you can act. Though the challenges may seem great and the circumstances may appear to be less than perfect, today's possibilities beg you to seize them. To the extent you do, your life and your world is benefited. This is your day to do with what you can, and you can indeed do so much if you will. Yes, say yes to life, to the possibilities that abound. And now, get going. So I want to return to a line in there and give you a new, perhaps, perspective on it. And the line is this: though the challenges may seem great and the circumstances may appear to be less than perfect. Anybody have that experience ever? That, the challenges may seem great and the circumstance I'm in right now is not what I want. Anybody have that ever? Okay, good. Just a couple of you. Yesterday. Thank you for that honesty. Yes, good. Right. Well, here is a perspective I want to offer you. And I got this from a colleague of mine who I was speaking with this week. She's a minister over in California. And she said, I have to share this with you, and it's something that happened with one of my congregants, and feel free to use this because he's given full permission for me to share it, and I'm sure you can share it too. So I want to thank my colleague in California and her congregant, who actually also is in her music ministry. And this is in L.A., so as you can imagine, the church is in L.A., not that this doesn't happen here as well, but really in LA, the churches there attract a lot of artists and musicians and, people at some high professional levels. Again, not that it doesn't happen here too, because it does. But this young man who is in my friend's music department, music ministry, is actually, he is a musician himself, and he is a former producer of Herbie Hancock. You've probably heard of that jazz musician, Herbie Hancock. Yeah, so that's who this person is. And something last Sunday happened. I don't know what happened, but something happened in their music department. I don't know, maybe things were falling in the pit. I don't know what it was. But there was some challenge. There was a mix-up. There was a mix-up in music, and things just got a little bit rough in their music presentation last Sunday. And so when it was all over, my friend, Reverend Pam, went up to this young man whose name I didn't get. I don't know his name, and said, "Wow, that was interesting, and I hope you guys did a great job. Thank you. You really, kind of got through that really smoothly. Thank you so much." And he said, I have an attitude. I've adopted, in fact, a mantra that I live by. And he said, I learned it when I worked for Herbie Hancock, because believe me, things happened all the time that you didn't expect. And he said, we would sometimes rehearse an entire set for a performance. And then that day we get to the performance and Herbie decides, I don't want to do any of those songs. I want to do all these songs. I'm like, ah! So he said, I really learned that I had to find a way to manage that kind of change and stress. And he said, and then I'm working with all these musicians, and not that ours have this, but some musicians can have egos, not that ours. No, I'm not saying this about ours. Not at all. But, we all can have egos and get that in the way. But anyway, he said, I've worked with a lot of egos who have, want it their way, and two people who want it the opposite ways. He said, so I've adopted a mantra. And that's what I use all the time. I used it here today, and it has served me well. And to me, this is a present moment awareness. This is a today acceptance kind of mantra. It's a mantra that knows that God is present. And it is simply this: it's all going to work out. That's it. It is, it's all going to work out. Whatever it is right now, it will work itself out. And I know that to be true as well. Big time do I know that to be true. But the story doesn't end there. He went on then to tell my friend about an experience he had had that week with his son. He has a 2-year-old son, and he's a stay-at-home dad, and works from home, and his wife works out of the house, so he is in charge of the baby. And part of their routine is every day they go take a walk, and the little boy goes in the stroller. He's 2 years old, very smart, and very articulate. This kid is putting full sentences together. He is a smart little guy, 2 years old. So he's always excited to go in the stroller and play. Now, remember, for 2 years, this little boy has been hearing his dad say, don't worry, it'll all work out. So he's gotten this attitude just in him. He's just gotten this attitude in him. So there they go on their little walk. And one of the things he loves to do more than anything in their little walks is to go visit the neighbors. And he particularly likes to visit Nellie. He really loves to visit Nellie. So they go off in the stroller. They're walking down the sidewalk, and he says to his dad, the little boy's name is Bennett. Bennett says to his dad, I want to go see Nellie. Let's go see Nellie. And the dad says, well, we can, but honey, I'm not sure Nellie's home. And the little boy says, no, Daddy, Nellie's always home. And the dad thinks, okay, I don't think Nellie's home right now. So, sweetie, she's not always home, and I'm not sure she's going to be home right now. And, he doesn't want his son to be disappointed, and doesn't want to have, a fit that might happen if Nellie's not home. He tries to talk him out of it, but very calmly, but very insistently, Bennett says, Nellie is always home. I want to go visit Nellie. So Dad's like, okay, let's go. So off they go to Nellie's house. They knock on the door, and lo and behold, Nellie is not home. So the dad is kind of waiting, like, okay, what's going to happen? Now, with a lot of children, what would happen? Right? I want to see Nellie. Children of age 2 or 52, right? 62, 72, 32, wherever we are. When we don't get our way, we can throw little tantrums sometimes, yes? Don't we? I want that, it's not happening now. I'm not accepting this day, I don't like it. Right. So Dad was wondering what's going to happen here with Bennett. Bennett simply says, when he finds out Nellie is not home, he says, well, sometimes she goes out for a while, but she's always home. Our logic, that doesn't make any sense in our logic, but in his mind, and there's a profound teaching here, he says, don't worry, she goes out sometimes for a while, but she's always home. And with that, they went on to their walk, and they had a great little walk. It was beautiful. Jesus, our master teacher, said, you must become as little children to enter the kingdom of heaven. And So that means the innocence, the maybe not having logic, but having a knowing. To enter that kingdom of heaven, which we believe in our science of mind teachings, heaven is not a place out there that you go to when you die, but heaven is an experience here today of conscious connection with the divine. It's an experience today of knowing that you are one with the one and living from that place. That's heaven. So we must become as little children. We must have a new innocence in order to come to that awareness of the I am presence, living and moving and having its being as us. So my interpretation of this little scenario with Ben and his dad, the little guys, Nellie's always home. God is always present. God is always in the house, always home, always there, cannot ever be anywhere other than right here in this moment. That is, God is always home. Bennett's, yeah, well, sometimes she goes out for a while. Sometimes Nellie goes out for a while. God never goes out, ever. But we do, right? We can take a step away. We can take a step outside the house. We can go away and not find, well, there's a beautiful parable, the parable of the prodigal son who, goes to that outer land, that foreign land, metaphor for goes away from God. We can do that. Yes, we can do that very much when we're not liking the moment, the present circumstance isn't what we want, and the condition isn't right exactly as we want it. It's a challenge. We can go away. We can be gone. But little Bennett says, well, we can be gone for a little while, but we're always at home. Nellie's always at home. I think that is so profound and so beautiful, and that's where we're going today. This is the idea today that just go back home. Come back home. Because in fact, home is always right here. The divine presence, the I am, is always, always, and in all ways right here. So I'm going to give you 2 mantras for today. And the first one is, it always works out. Or if you prefer, Nellie's always home. That one can work too. But I like, it always works out. That is an attitude that takes us back. Oh, you guys are ready. You are so funny. Oh, you can't see it, but I'm watching. They're taking the power stance. They're ready to say the mantra. So we have a thing here for those of you who are new that we've learned. Science says that we become more receptive to something if we get in a power stance, and this is the power stance. So I'm watching them. They're ready for me to say. Right. All right. So it always works out. Here we go. It always works out. Ooh, that was good. Now, I want you to take if, and you might not have anything right now, but in case you have anything in your life that is maybe not looking like it's working out, maybe it's looking like a challenge, I want you to think of that. Just get that right now in your mind. Arms up if you want. Here we go. It always works out. Yeah, for me. For my highest and best good. But those are a lot of words and we might not be able to remember those, but that's good. I love that. I love that. So there's a story about a Zen master, a woman Zen master named Sono, S-O-N-O. And she taught one very simple method of enlightenment, and what she taught is going to be our second mantra for today. People came to her from far away to sit at her feet and learn from her. People came with physical challenges, they came with broken hearts, they came with financial issues, they came with relationship issues, they came with all sorts of issues. But really what they wanted, of course they wanted those conditions to be healed and return to wholeness, but they were seeking enlightenment. They were seeking a higher level of consciousness. They were seeking a way to connect more directly to the divine. She had one phrase that she told everybody, no matter what the circumstances or what the conditions were. One phrase. And she said to each of her clients that came to her, say this phrase often and every time you face a challenge or a situation. When the people who came to her heard it, some of them got angry. They thought they got shortchanged because this wasn't enough. Some of them were disappointed that that's all there was, and clearly that could not be it. Others felt a little bit, like they were swindled and brought into believing to come see her, and she really was nothing, had nothing to offer. Others tried to argue with her that this certainly couldn't be all there was. But those who simply took her wisdom and simply acted on what she said found themselves to be profoundly healed. So I suspect you'd like to know what that statement is, isn't it? Here it is. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. You feel that energy? Yeah. Now, because I am who I am, and as we've already explored earlier, I do like to shift things and change them a little bit, edit them. I really am just so desirous to edit the no complaint out of there and change it to, I accept everything or something like that. But I figured that's a Zen tradition which has worked for thousands of years. Maybe I won't change that. Maybe I'll let that be. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. So there's a passage from Wallace Wattles' book, The Great Science of Getting Rich, which is so much more than about money. It's about having a rich life. But in it he says, never allow yourself to feel disappointed. And I'll add on that, because what do we do when we feel disappointed? Complain, right? Right? We complain. Oh, dear me, this happened, and oh, blah, 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 blah. So never allow yourself to feel disappointed, and then therefore complain. You may expect to have a certain thing at a certain time and not get it at that time. And this will appear to you like a failure. But if you hold to your faith, you will find that the failure is only apparent. Go on in the certain way. And that's capital C, capital W, and we're going to explore the certain way next month in June. I'm not going to talk about that now, but we're going to explore the certain way next month. So come back next month. But anyway, go on in the certain way, and if you do not receive that thing that you wanted, you will receive something so much better that you will see that the seeming failure was really a great success. How many of us have been there, done that? Many of us can look back, and I was having some conversations just this week, as a matter of fact, of people looking back at a year ago, 6 months ago, 1 month ago, where things were not going the way they wanted them. They were scared for their livelihood. They were brokenhearted over a relationship. They were having challenges here or there. Life was not good. It wasn't happy. Yuck. Maybe even wanting to just forget it, just check out. I don't even want to do this. And now, fast forward just a few months, everything has turned around. It's because these people I'm talking to know these principles and apply them. They live in this certain way. It's not going to be any big surprise what the certain way is. That's the way we're talking today, but there are some nuances to it we'll get to next month. Because we know when we practice what we teach here, those conditions, those circumstances absolutely shift and change. They have to. They have to. So your two mantras for today that take us to an awareness of acceptance of this day, to an awareness of the I am presence that lives today in this day that the Lord has made, ways we can rejoice in this day now is, it's all going to work out. Thank you for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. These two statements will serve you well in returning to your place of power, returning to your place of joy. So I want to do a little closed eye experience here as we return to that place right now. So if you'd like to join me in closing your eyes. And even take a deep breath. Because the truth is, even though we do our mental work to return us home, let's remember that Nellie is always home. Let's remember that we really are always home. The I am presence that is the divine lives as us, and it never goes anywhere. But mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we can go somewhere. And these statements help us come back to this I am awareness. So just in your own mind, Return now consciously to the I am center within you. That place that is solid. That place that is strong. That place that is love. That place that is joy. That is wisdom, grace, abundance, magnificence. That place that is beyond all appearances of any challenge. That place that is your center of creation. Your place of empowerment. That is your I am awareness. That is, as the beautiful song that Yaya sang for us earlier, the place where the belief in duality closes. And we recognize we are one with the one. And in that brings joy. In that brings the power to create that which we desire. And when we live day by day by day in that place, there is no doubt that we will see God working through us and through our lives more clearly. No doubt about it. There is no doubt that as we live this way day by day by day, that we will love life more dearly. There is no doubt that as we live from this I am place day by day by day, that we will seize our highest and best more nearly. This is what I know for each of us. This is what I proclaim for each of us. And I know that it is so. And so it is.